Hello. Welcome to another Italian battleship inspection in World of Warships, buddy. And we are looking at the king of shit, the Marco fucking Polo. Now, there's a very good reason that I have reviewed Sicilia, followed by Giuseppe Verdi, followed by Marco Polo. There's a very, very good reason for that. Because Sicilia to Colombo is almost exactly what Giuseppe is to Marco Polo. Let's think about this. Colombo and Sicilia have identical hulls. Marco Polo and Giuseppe have identical hulls. Identical guns. Identical concealment. Identical maneuverability. Identical range. Identical everything. Essentially identical everything. The only difference between Marco Polo and Giuseppe in the gun department is Giuseppe has HE and AP. Marco Polo has SAP and AP. And Marco Polo has a slightly worse reload, just like the difference between Sicilia and Colombo. And just like the difference between, say, Sicilia and Legmont Colombo, Marco Polo has better dispersion with an asterisk. Because the dispersion is identical, Marco Polo has 1.9 sigma, and Giuseppe Verdi has 1.7. Now, if you are wondering, should zero point 0.2 better sigma be a noticeable accuracy improvement? The answer is a resounding yes. It should. Okay? It should be a noticeable accuracy improvement. Guys, I don't really know what to tell you. Is the sigma number bugged on Marco Polo? This is a dead fucking serious question I have. Is the stated sigma value for Marco Polo on ship tool even accurate? Because we played 3 games in each, Marco Polo and Giuseppe Verdi, the day I played. All of these replays for both of these ships, last review and this review, were recorded in the same 2-hour session. I'm not seeing it, dude. I am not at all seeing it. And in case you're wondering about a 0.2 sigma buff, after playing Marco Polo, I played a few games in the Republic, which has 2.1 sigma, with basically identical dispersion to Marco Polo. And the 0.2 sigma that Repub has over Marco Polo is instantaneously noticeable. You fire 2 salvos and you're like, oh yeah, this boat is better sigma. Okay. 100%. That right there is probably the best looking salvo I'm going to get all game. I have no explanation for it. In the hour or so I played Marco Polo, I probably fired 100 salvos plus. Not a single salvo looked better than my average Giuseppe Verdi salvo. Logic tells me this makes no fucking sense, and I should be getting a better thing. Now, we're in the cap. There's a Jaeger sitting in the fucking cap, letting me push him. We're shooting a DD at 5.5. We get, just pure shotgun dispersion. A torp that completely misses us, gets a hit on us. Everything's going exceedingly well so far, as you can see. So now, you better notice I'm running range mod. Now, when I reviewed Sicilia, I said range mod is objectively best. When I reviewed Giuseppe Verdi, I said range mod is objectively best. However, that is not true on Marco Polo. Why is it not true on Marco Polo? Well, Marco Polo, number 1, is a DPM battleship. You shoot 80% SAP. SAP ignores almost all angling. You are a DPM battleship. Remember one of those other questions we wanted to ask ourselves. Am I comfortable with my reload, or is my reload dog shit? No, your reload is dog shit in Marco Polo. You have a 34.5 second base reload. You would love to buff it. So in a normal universe, 100%, you do not build this. So why am I running range mod if I don't think you should? If I think you should run a reload mod? Well, the reason why I'm running range mod is I wanted to make the accuracy comparison as fair as possible. These ships on paper have identical accuracy. They have identical gun range. So any of the cheesing of our gun range is going to benefit them the same. The only difference, allegedly, is Marco Polo has 1.9 instead of 1.7 Sigma. This should be leading us to having solid dispersion, noticeably decent, noticeably better dispersion than on the Giuseppe Verdi. And I'm just telling you right now, fucking fellas, it did not goddamn happen. This ship feels less accurate than Giuseppe. Again, sample size 100 salvos. Is that enough salvos to say definitely it's less accurate? Perhaps not. However, again, you play a ship like Marco Polo, you play a ship like Republic, the dispersion is so much better on a ship like Repub. Repub feels like it has 0.5 better Sigma, and that is part of what leads me into my baseless conspiracy theory that the accuracy stated for this boat just simply has to be wrong. I am going to shoot sap at this guy on cooldown almost the entire game. And he's just never really going to take big damage. The dispersion I got in this ship, in the 3 games I played it, the day of recording this, was appallingly bad. Bafflingly bad. I streamed these games. No one. I was begging the people in the Twitch chat. Am I hallucinating, or is this ship literally less accurate than Giuseppe? Everybody agreed. There is no way this ship has 0.2 better Sigma. I kept playing more games. I was like, all right, I played 1 game. It was so frustrating. I wanted to quit. I was like, all right, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe those 30 salvos in game 1 were a fluke. Let's shoot another 30 salvos in game 2. Oh, the dispersion is dog shit. Okay, so not a fluke. All right, you know what? Fuck it. We'll go 1 more. We'll play a 3rd game. Surely I just got unlucky 60 or 50 salvos in a row. Maybe after 80 to 100 salvos, you know, the dispersion will even out. Nope. I just don't know what to say. I mean, I really don't want to be that guy who, like, you know, like when we had the quote-unquote dispersion bug where the game listed you as having better dispersion than you actually did, but anyone with a brain knew that it was just a visual bug, and then all the big-name YouTubers and streamers were like, your ships are way more accurate than they're supposed to be, and, like, that was clearly not true. Just placebo effect, going dummy hard. So I don't want to be that guy. But I just honestly don't know what to fucking say. I mean, unless you can all of a sudden equip Dazzle on an Iowa, I don't really know what to say. Unless you can equip, you know, we're going to shoot Vermont later. Unless you can equip Dazzle on a Vermont, I don't know what the fuck to say. I can only report what my lying eyes have told me in about 10 to 15 Marco Polo games, 3 played the day of recording this, which is the boat is horrifically bad dispersion. Doesn't make sense. Defies the stated stats. Now, you might have noticed that I haven't mentioned something. You don't get a fuel smoke. Why do you not get a fuel smoke? Well, if you're expecting your boy to come with, well, because this and because... No, there is no explanation of any kind. Full stop, period. This ship not getting this fuel smoke is, objectively speaking, retarded. Again, let's compare Marco... I'm going to talk about Colombo and Sicilia. Legmod Colombo versus Sicilia. Colombo is a bit more accurate, with a bit worse reload, with identical guns, with SAP instead of HE, with an identical hull, with identical concealment. They both get a fuel smoke. So why is it that Marco Polo, which is just Giuseppe Verdi with SAP instead of HE, theoretically slightly better dispersion, a worse reload, identical hull, identical concealment, identical maneuverability, why the fuck does this boat not get a fuel smoke? Giuseppe Verdi gets the improved duration fuel smoke. Why the fuck does the Marco Polo not get a fuel smoke? There is no logic to it. If Sicilia and Colombo both get a fuel smoke, and Giuseppe Verdi gets a fuel smoke, why the fuck? Why the fuck? Alright, here we go. Flat broadside Vermont at 11 kilometers. Oh, worse dispersion than any Giuseppe Verdi salvo I fired in the 2 games from the last replay. Okay, no citadels. It's totally fine. He's more flat. We're going to load the rear turret. Here we go. Rear turret, waterline aim point. Oh, worse dispersion than any Giuseppe Verdi salvo from my Giuseppe Verdi 2 games review. Okay. Well, that's undeniably extremely fucking cool. I just honestly do not know what to say. I don't want to be this guy who just says, "Oh, yeah, the dispersion's bugged. It's confirmed. The dispersion's What is that? What is that? Yep, the dispersion's bugged. It's bugged. I can see it with my own 2 eyes. The dispersion's, but I just don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else to tell you. A great example is when I reviewed the Baji. Baji has 0.1 better Sigma than Azumo. Baji has 5% better vertical dispersion than Azumo. The difference is night and day. You fire 3 salvos in your Baji, and you're like, this is not Azumo dispersion, is it? And you play a game in Azumo, and you're like, oh no, Baji's way more accurate. Those marginal improvements are very noticeable. 0.2 Sigma, is a noticeable buff. It is a noticeable buff. But it's not a noticeable buff. I can't explain it. I just cannot explain it to you. Other than that is my experience playing the boat, is the ship is less accurate than Giuseppe Verdi. We're building it the same way. They have identical dispersion. This has better Sigma. Why is it less accurate? 90 salvos in, 100 salvos in. Back to back, we played games back to back after the Giuseppe games for the best comparison possible. I can't explain it. I'm just babbling at this point. It is appallingly bad. And the sap just, when I reviewed Sicilia, I talked about how Colombo's overall better because Colombo's a bit more accurate because of the legendary mod, and Colombo has sap, and sap is a broken ammo. But the problem with making that same comparison between Giuseppe and Marco is that Marco isn't really more accurate in my experience at all. Marco doesn't get the fuel smoke. So I want you to imagine, okay? I want you to imagine this. If Sicilia existed exactly as it exactly as it does, and Colombo existed exactly as it does, but Colombo did not get the legendary mod, and Colombo did not get any smoke of any kind, would we consider Colombo better than Sicilia? I would say no. I would say probably not. And keep in mind, this comparison is extra unfair because Giuseppe Verdi HE compared to Marco Polo sap is way better than Sicilia HE compared to Colombo sap. Right? Sicilia, like I said in my review, has basically the worst battleship HE in the game when you combine its dispersion, its fire chance, and its alpha strike. Giuseppe Verdi has like average BBHE. It's just kind of average, right? And yeah, I mean that's the comparison you need to make in your head. It's like, imagine if Colombo had no ledge mod, had no fuel smoke, and Sicilia HE was 30% better than it currently is. Is Colombo objectively better than Sicilia? No, I would say Sicilia is now better than Colombo. I really would. And of course, we're in the very next game that was played in this piece of shit boat. I'm almost just wanting to skip through this to end the fucking review because just watching this footage back depresses the fuck out of me. And this game is going to be one of the most depressing games you'll ever see in your life. Now, what is one of the assets of the sap? All right, let's quit ragging on the boat. You have 406 millimeter sap. That means you pen a funny 102. Why is 102 funny? Well, penning 102 is hilarious because Brisbane and Minotaur have exactly 102 millimeter Citadel belt. So you Citadel those ships if you hit sap on their Citadel. Now, obviously, like, 380 mil sap, we also Citadel Genan, right? So that means that when those ships don't go perfectly nose or stern into you, you are going to do big damage to them, right? Conventional wisdom would suggest yes. However, I am going to lose this game. We're going to spoil it. I'm going to lose this game. And the only reason I'm going to lose this game is because I'm not in Giuseppe Verdi instead of Marco Polo. You ever think you'd hear that? Huh? Huh, buddy? You ever think you'd hear a guy on YouTube say, I would have won this game if I was only in the Giuseppe Verdi? There's going to be multiple times in this game that Giuseppe Verdi smoke would prevent me from taking a bunch of damage. And there's going to be multiple times in this game where the ship being the most horrific shotgun in human fucking history means I don't get a free kill. And, we're just going to, again, become a broken record and say, I don't fucking understand it, dude. The ship is less accurate than Sicilia, that has 0.3 worse Sigma. I just cannot fucking explain it. Because what's going to happen in this game is it's going to be kind of a close game. Our team's going to look like we're about to lose, and then the red team is going to turbo throw, okay? The red team is going to turbo throw. In particular, their Jinan and their Kunming are going to make a absolutely Herculean attempt to lose the game. But because my boat is such an insane shotgun and I don't have a fuel smoke, we will lose. I mean, combined with a couple people on my team being 44 IQ retards. So we're going to kind of skip through because basically the first 10 minutes of this game is this kind of dispersion coming out of my Giuseppe. I mean, that's lock-on bug dispersion. That's no lock-on dispersion. We might have not even been locked on. So that's not typical. So I'm just going to keep skipping through the game. There you go. There's dispersion locked on. I think this is the best salvo I end up getting the whole game. That dispersion ends up being like the most accurate salvo I fire all game. Extremely, extremely cool. So we're going to kind of just skip through this a little bit. There you see Broadside Moskva. We're back to a worse salvo than our worst Giuseppe Verdi salvo from that review. There you go. 2 shells, flat Moskva across the map. Not even across the map. Moderate range. So, 2 of our ships suicided at sea. Make that a third in the middle. So it's looking really bad, right? As of right now, we have no ability to win. The red team has already won the game. They just have to not throw, right? So we're slowing down, a bit to shoot the Holland. Again, we're shotgunning, of course. We are in the ultimate shotgun. Despite having BB dispersion with 1.9 Sigma, there is no explanation for it. Nobody understands why it's so bad. So we're pushing into this flank. But, unfortunately, they have Hayate, Holland, Kunming. So we have to turn around. And now we are going to open up on a Conqueror. Now, a Conqueror would be a ship that a normal SAP battleship would absolutely just gape. He'd be gaped by an average SAP BB. Every square inch of his hull basically gives us a SAP pen. But, of course, we have another salvo that is worse than our absolute worst Giuseppe Verdi salvo from 2 whole games in Giuseppe Verdi. Despite having 0.2 better Sigma, the mystery is still rampant. So we're going to kind of kite out here a little bit. Now, I am detected. I am assuming I am detected by the Holland screening in front of the Conqueror. So I'm just going to keep running, right? And we're going to keep clicking SAP into this Conqueror. He's going slightly forward, so we aim slightly high. We aim slightly in front of him. We get another I just don't even know, dude. I don't even know what to fucking say anymore. Like, is this a joke? Is this a joke? I don't understand. My pricing is more accurate than this thing. Like, I just don't know what to say. I'm flabbered. My gasters are flabbered. I don't get it. So we're pushing in. So they're on the cap. So we're going to start turning around because my assumption again is that since I'm no longer spotted and they're on the cap, that one of the DDs turned in and they're no longer spotted me. We obviously have no idea where the Kunming is, so that's quite confusing. All shall be revealed shortly. Yet again, another salvo that is less accurate than my least accurate Giuseppe Verdi salvo from 2 whole games. So we are pushing back in. They are on the cap. Our team is way down. We're down 2-1. We have no map position. This game should be completely fucking unwinnable. However, we're going to start turning in, and something very interesting is going to happen. You see there, we have 2 sets of 5 torps that are moderately fast, but not crazy fast. Those must be Hayate torps, right? So logic would dictate Hayate went out on the flank, and the Holland took the cap. So we're trying to pick up the kill on the Conqueror. It is an absolute struggle. You notice that I'm in a SAP battleship. I've been basically spamming guns on cooldown, and I have 61,000 damage 10 minutes into the game. Pretty impressive stuff, to be sure. Very impressive stuff. Now, this is a situation where I would, greatly appreciate having a fuel smoke. I am hard spotted. So, the Holland is detected over there. What does that mean? Well, that means that Hayate is becoming, shall we say, silly and goofy. Silly and goofy Hayate gaming. Maybe the best salvo of the day so far in Giuseppe, as we hit 400 DD. So Stalingrad hits a radar just to help us out. Very rare to see a radar cruiser on your team actually assist you. We're hard lit by the Ven, and we're pushing a DD with torps. It would be really great to have a fuel smoke. So Kitakaze suicides, and the Hayate is basically chosen death. So we're pushing in. Now our team is still down. We're still in a 3-ship disadvantage. We're still capped 2-1, right? So we're going to just run at the Hayate. Would be great to have a fuel smoke, right? Would be super, super great to have a fuel smoke. But unfortunately, we do not get a fuel smoke in our Marco Polo. No, we do not. So we're going to get spammed by these guys and lose a few thousand HP. That in Giuseppe, we would not lose. The Holland torps are coming through. The Hayate is, they really just are not sending their best, fellas. They're just not sending them. So somehow we brought this back from we were down we were in like a 10-6, and now all of a sudden we're in a 4-5. Right? All of a sudden we're into 4-5, and I can Citadel G-Nan with my SAP. But here's the thing. If I'm a Giuseppe Verdi, you know what I do right now? What do we do, guys? We hit a smoke. We smoke right now. We smoke ourselves all the way in through B. We get the B cap, and we put pressure on the red team. Unfortunately, we are in the Marco Polo that, like we mentioned in the last replay, 100% inexplicably gets no fuel smoke. There is no reason for it. It is the main reason this ship is insanely dog shit, because it is worse than Colombo compared to Sicilia, compared to Giuseppe, if that makes sense, if my English is making any sense. This ship to Giuseppe is way, way, way worse, just overall, than Colombo compared to Sicilia, and then they also took the smoke away from it. So there's no explanation for that. We're spotted. So what we would love to do right now is we would love to smoke, right? We could hit a 80-second duration Giuseppe Verdi smoke. We could get into the B cap, completely dark, and no one will be able to line up torps on us, and we can actually do what I would want to do in this situation. What I would want to do in this situation is push at the DDs, not at the GNet, right? But unfortunately, because I can't smoke up, my best play here is gray line for this island, leave the B cap completely, because if the DDs are spotting me coming in on the flank, right, like they probably are, then we would just have the speed to outrun the torpedo angles on us, right? And so this game is basically unwinnable. However, the GNet is going to Giga turbo throw. He is currently in the process of turbo throwing. Now, he doesn't actually end up turbo throwing, making the worst play in human history, which is sitting here while a ship that can sap Citadel him rushes him down. Why does he not get punished for making the worst play in human history? Well, because you see this, he's disciplined, right? Oh, no, he's not. If we hit a Citadel, yeah, there you go. So he just completely gets away with it. Making the worst play in recorded human history is not a problem because this ship basically has like the worst guns in the game. I mean, it's insanely depressing, dude, is what it is. It's insanely fucking depressing. This guy literally turbo through the game, and because we are in the least accurate BB in the game, despite on paper it's more accurate than average. Dude. Alright, so we get a blind hit on the sub-shitter. We're getting farmed by 400,000 DPM. 35 fires a minute GNAD. Unlucky. Gato Torp does 15,000 fucking damage. We get another blind hit on him. We're pushing in. We're popping the spotter plane in case this guy's a moron and he's on the surface. And what is this? Oh, it's the Kunming turbo suiciding. He literally kills himself, but I just shot the GNAD, so I can't kill him. It's an incredible tragedy. And he whiffs 90% of his torps, but he gets 15. We kill the sub. We die to the cross torps. So both the Kunming and the GNAD make a 10 out of 10 dog shit, full retard play, turbo throw the game, but our ship is just simply completely incapable. We are, in fact, getting bespoke well-dones in the chat for the sub killing himself. So the sub suicides, we're actually able to kill him because of airdrops. The Kunming suicides, we can't suicide him because he got timing blessed. The GNAD suicides, we can't kill him because we are in the worst fucking boat in the game, basically. The Holland sprints into Stalingrad radar range out in the open. The Stalingrad is going to get the kill, putting our team in a 2v2. Now, the Kunming is on this rock. The GNAD is on this rock. What do they both have to do? Right here. Let's blow up the minimap. All these two guys have to do, all they have to do is push onto this rock. The Kunming and the GNAD do not have enough HP between either of them to get a kill. They both push on this rock. There are 3 minutes left in the game. We will have the win condition. The GNAD and the Kunming have to push into the cap because they do not have time to flank. They're going to have to push into the cap. So, our Stalingrad is pushing in. He is giving the GNAD fired angles. Instead of gray lining this way, he gives the GNAD an extra 5 to 10,000 damage on him. But he gets behind the rock, as he should. Okay. The Wisconsin is gray lining flat broadside to 2 deep water torpedo boats. I'm telling my team they just have to push now, which is objectively correct. However, Stalingrad is still, he has not touched his rudder in over an entire minute, and he's dead. And that means we lose. GG Reds. Game is thrown by one retard. We almost brought it back. Truly unfortunate. The Stalingrad realizes to his credit that the second the Wisconsin dies, he just has to try to make a play. Maybe he gets a nice bow citadel. He does not get a nice bow Citadel. You see the remaining HP they had, their positions. All that was required was for Wisconsin to dive on the island. We would have won the game. 100% guaranteed, no questions asked. Excuse me. So, a nice combination of our ship being so terrible that when the two dumbest players in the game, they're Kunming and Jinan, suicide to me, I cannot punish them. And then our Wisconsin being the dumbest player alive, we actually lose the game. Stalingrad hard carried. Played very well. So we did have one teammate, but, that's the experience in the Marco Polo is you are on paper, you have this SAP. On paper, you have this 1.9 Sigma. In reality, none of it works for you. The boat is appallingly bad. You don't get the fuel smoke that Giuseppe gets, so you have no survivability compared to Giuseppe. You get the same HP pool, which is extra fucking sus game design. You don't even get improved HP, so you just get 72,000 HP with no smoke. Sicilia gets a improved smoke. Colombo gets a smoke. This thing gets no smoke. There you go. We fired 150 sap shells. We hit 43. Pretty cool. We fired like 2 long-range salvos. Every other salvo was a guy like basically in our mouth. No damage dealt, basically. 0 damage. So, and then of course you see here the problem with sap, which is people saturate. And even though on paper my sap hits for 4,500 a hit, you can see here you're averaging about 2,200 per shell. So very cool. The boat is just insanely dog shit. One of the worst Tier 9 battleships in the video game. Let's hop back into the port so my post-game suffering can end. Alright, equipment. As you can see, I did not even fucking bother with running Cold DCP mod, which you should run because the ship is so daggers in the fucking eyes to play. We ran range mod solely to make the comparison between this and Giuseppe Dispersion appallingly shocking. Because otherwise people would be like, hey, you ran range mod on Giuseppe, so that's not a fair comparison, which would be true. That's why we ran range, but you should run reload because you are mostly a DPM battleship, so you definitely should take reload mod. Standard randoms BB build, as always, nothing really to say there. And then as far as the armor goes, well, in the very last review, we looked at Giuseppe, and this is the identical hull. It is identical. So now you have that going for you, I guess. It's a good hull. So I guess that's the one thing Marco Polo has going for it. It has a very great hull that partially mitigates the low HP pool. It, unlike Giuseppe, does not get the fuel smoke, so it doesn't really mitigate the HP pool at all. You're not very survivable because of that. And you, in theory, have improved guns that, in practice, are horseshit dog-ass guns that don't hit a fucking thing, ever. Yeah. Not recommended. Boat is bad. Let's see. Let's look at the Tier 9 battleships I currently have in my port, and let's think of, is this boat better than them? Victoria is better. George is better. Illinois is better. New York is better. Sun Yat-sen is way better. Sarugi is way better. Kearsarge is twice as good. Daisen is twice as good. Karl Johann's probably overall better because you can HE spam very effectively and you have torps. Missouri's way better. Ooh. Is it worse than Hizen, boys? Hizen might be worse. Marlboro is better. Navarin might be worse. We might have to do a Navarin and a Karl Yo. We might have to do a Navarin and a Hizen review. There might be 2 premium tier 9 BPs worse than this pile of junk. Time will tell. I'm actually just becoming depressed even doing the review for this clown car. So we're going to end it there. Nice and short one compared to most of these reviews. So anyway, thank you for watching as always. We will see you in the next one.